So before we get into this week's Vanguard episode, let us talk about the perfection that is the Avengers End Game trailer. This is a fantastic trailer to me because it breaks all the rules and just decides to be what it wants to be. And that is, we're going to be the most somber, depressing thing you've ever watched. Like, seriously, this is a trailer that opens with this franchise's biggest hero and probably most popular, basically being like, I got nothing, I'm dying a slow, painful death, so the only thing I can do to give me some level of happiness is leave a message to my girlfriend, who hopefully isn't dead, and will probably never see this, but if I'm going out, I at least want it to be on the note of her. That is the most somber, depressing thing I've ever seen. And then Captain America. The frickin' thumbnail for this trailer is Cap crying. Think about that for a minute. That is going to forever be remembered as the first shot we see of this, minus leaked sex photos and stuff. But that doesn't matter. It's a beautiful shot, and his whole speech of just like, we lost, we failed, it didn't work. Like, everything was against us, and we got a plan, but if that doesn't work, I don't even believe in a backup plan. I don't believe we can find a way to save the day. If whatever crazy thing we're about to attempt doesn't work, like, there is no plan B or how to fix it. Like, it's such a beautifully somber, sad trailer. Just the shot of Thor sitting in what looks like the raft, like, has he been arrested? Just the shot of him, like, no longer godlike, no longer warrior-like, just in, like, his sweats, just looking up, feeling defeated, is such a perfect shot. But by far the best shot in the trailer is Hawkeye. Like, beyond a doubt, just that shot of when he turns his face and he's just like, I've got nothing, I've lost everything. Just like, my whole family's probably gone, like, any sense of safety and security we knew in anything has been stripped away from us. It's such a perfectly beautiful shot, and the whole trailer has this weird effect of, it's almost like the snap affected the way superhero movies have to be shown to us. Like, it's not just everyone in this fictional universe was affected, it's we the public was affected. People are still doing snap memes. Like, Thanos is now a mainstream character because of this movie. It's fascinating to think about, and the trailer reflects this. The trailer reflects that feeling of defeat we all felt when we saw everyone go away. The only two things, these aren't really gripes necessarily, is I would have liked some Rocket Raccoon, as I'm fascinated to see where his arc is going to go in this movie. And also, I could have done without the shot of Scott Lang. Obviously, we know he's going to be in it. We know he's going to play a huge part in it. But I felt like, let's take in that somber tone, at least for another 2 months. But other than that, fantastic trailer. Loved it completely. Then we move on to the actual Vanguard episode. Also quite like this. First up, love that playful tone in the beginning, and I love that music they played. Like, just that idea that so much of our show is now dedicated to just showing our characters' personalities. Some of you may think this is a little fillery, but for me, like, I'm in most shows I watch for the characters. I'm in it for those scenes of just, like, Naoki says something stupid, so Shingo makes fun of them, and then Masaki explains what's really going on. Those little things, shut up phone, are important to me, and I really thought it was just a great bit. Then we move on to going to Ren's high school. Aichi runs into Tetsu and greets him as a friend, even though he really shouldn't, because this guy almost was electrocuting people and almost probably killed somebody. He's just like, hey, buddy, and Tetsu's like, I'm totally not going to use you all as lab rats. That lasts 5 minutes. And then Ren's reintroduction scene, I think, is actually really clever and really good. If you notice, all the things that are done to, like, really give you the idea he's better again are visual and things that you yourself have to pick up on. No one just expositions away that, oh, he's better now, everything's fine. No, first shot of our season 1 villain. I know a lot of people think Tetsu's the villain, but for a general description of this, the villain of season 1 is like now this friendly goofball. Like his movements feel more friendly. His sort of atmosphere around him is much more happy. Even the actor has pitched the voice up a bit. These are all clever ways to show that this character has changed, and I really liked all of them. And then we get on to the Cardfight Club, and we get the thing that had me going, I respect the hell out of this. And that is that everyone is up front with everything. Shut up, phone! Immediately, Suiko shows up, and she, like, just grabs Aichi. That's a fun little different way to introduce a character. We'll talk more about Suiko next week, as she's getting a lot of focus next weekend. I have some very strong opinions on this character, believe it or not. But just that whole fact that immediately she shows up, Masaki's like, oh shit, that's the guy who talked about Psyqualia to Ren. And then Tetsu's like, oh, I'm still studying Psyqualia. No, make no mistake, I'm still a potential villain that the plot doesn't really know how to portray me as. I'm still studying this shit. Everyone's up front about everything. And then he's like, yeah, she's with the Tatsunagi group, who's also helping me with my experiments. Everyone's just putting it up on Front Street. This feels nice and it feels organic. Everyone is just straightforward with things. There's no need to keep secrets to drag the plot out any longer. Everything is just, here we are, here we go, let's go, next plot point, let's do this, we're going, we're not gonna hold the audience's hand, we're not gonna bullshit anybody, we're just gonna go along with it, and I quite appreciated it. Obviously, we'll have more to talk about with the Tatsunagi Corporation next week, as they are a big part of the next episode, but just know that I'm actually pretty hyped to see how they're gonna do this, as they have not screwed this up yet, which they did Psyqualia. Can we talk about that scene where Tetsu's like, oh, I want to see if Aichi's Psyqualia manifests. Why would it manifest in a fight against Asuka? I don't even think Aichi knew this person existed until 20 minutes ago. Like, in a fun fight, like, I don't know. Usually in stuff like this, we kidnap a character first. But it was fine. Fight was fine. Let's get into new card discussion. That ends the episode discussion, people. For the rest of the video, consider this the Vanguard question of the week. We are talking about new cards, because I have some things to say. First and foremost, new Alfred. Oh, Jesus. This is what you went with? Any effect in the world, and you picked this one. At least Kay and Bedevier have good effects. So Royal's biggest problem for most people is that the deck revolves too much around an OK grade 2. So what do? Let's make a new card that revolves around an OK grade 2. Its effect isn't necessarily the worst thing I've ever read, but what makes the card not very good is that Royal's biggest problem is that they can't swarm consistently, and they can't necessarily get their combos off consistently. I've done what I can to make Royals as good as possible, but the deck has a lot of problems. And you had a chance with this thing to fix the problems in very simple ways. Just give us a better calling effect. Give us a way to make attacks better. Like, basically, you have all these options, and they kind of just went with the simplest one. Like, just make the one unit better. And yes, getting a free grade 2 for writing is nice, but it's just one grade 2. It's not going to fix the problems of the deck. And, like, I don't think Royals need a lot to fix. I just think they need things like countercharge engines, better call engines, basically things that are actually meant to take advantage of what the clan is supposed to be doing. Because as it stands right now, I hate to say it, Spike Brothers is kind of a better Royal Paladin, and it's a little sad. But that is that card, and I guess Kay and Bedevier too. I'm not super interested in them. Let us go ahead and move on to a card that I think... Oh, also, one last thing. It's not necessarily the fact that Alfred is bad that really has me annoyed. It's the fact that he is the VR. He is what is going to be the face of Royals for this set, and therefore the face of Royals for potentially 4 to 6 months, depending on how long this season goes. Now, and yes, obviously we're going to get Majesty Lord Blaster, but we don't know when that is. And on top of that, this is going to be like Royal's 5th attempt at more or less a boss monster, and they've all kind of had the same problems. So I'm a little worried about where the deck is going. Like, if this thing was a double R or even like a single rare, and I think its effect warrants it, I think it would actually be an okay option as a way to recycle blaster blades, but to make him the be-all end-all royal of the set is a very bad move, and I think the thing really needed just something else to do. An example of a card that I think kind of is in a similar vein, but actually is good, is Great Silver Wolf Garmor. This card's calling effect is simple. It's straight and to the point. Counterblast 1, check the top 3, pick any unit you want, give a bunch of units an extra 3k. That's nice, that is simple, that is straightforward. It's a perfect effect for a double rare that will most likely be a budget option for people who can't afford the Azels. That is all it needs to be, that is all it is trying to be. It is the budget option card. Yeah, it has that bizarre first effect, where if you have like one or less cards in hand, it's the only thing that can be affected by stuff. That's kind of weird, but like it's not going to come up much, so who cares? It is a simple card, it is a straightforward card. Will I be playing it? Of course not. I already have my 4 Azels pre-ordered and will obviously pick up my Ravenhairs as soon as possible. So all in all, this card does not affect me that much, but I think the sort of weird debate people are having over it, I think is a little ridiculous. It's a fine card, just leave it be. And finally, we get our last card, we get our most important card that was revealed this week, Raven-haired Azel. Oh, you sexy thing. Like, this card is fucking amazing. So, you get, like, crits, you get guard restrict, like, all these effects on this thing are amazing. But what truly makes it great to me is the fact that you can get it off reliably. First up, you can just like do your normal Azel shenanigans and then ride this thing. So you could potentially be having an extra crit Vanguard very early in the game. That is great, and then you just gotta keep counterblasting for it. I don't need to keep riding grade 3s, I don't need to rely on a grade 2 in the drop zone, I just need my Raven-haired Azel, and I just need the counterblasts. That is perfectly fair, considering golds are now more of a Soul Blast heavy deck, which actually might be a problem for them. We'll know when I get all my stuff from Ultra Rare next week and can do some testing. But all in all, I think this is a fantastic card, and really is going to put my golds into really a much better spot than just being gimmickly Excel deck. But what do you think about all these cards, this episode of Vanguard, and the Avengers End Game trailer? Tell me all that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week as we see Angel Feather and all their degenerate damage zone mixing up garbage.